What's up, everybody? Welcome to TPI, the Total Podcast Idiots Show. I'm idiot number one for today, Andrew, and I'm joined by idiot number three, Chris. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Andrew. I think eventually I will be promoted to idiot number two. But for now, I will stick with number three. And I'm just excited for the actual non-con games to get here, the ones that matter. So how about you?
Yeah, doing pretty well. The flip just happened. We tried to record on the day of the flip,
Yep.
or one of the days, and things just didn't work. But we're here for the start of non-con at least, so it's not like the worst time to get started.
Yeah, for the record, for the listeners out there, we do try most of the time. Very rarely do we just cut it off and not do it for a few weeks without letting you know. But sometimes, like I've got an internet issue or Andrew's got an internet issue, but we're getting something out to you today. Everything's rolling good for now. So fingers crossed that it stays that way. But yeah, seriously. But yeah, we're excited to bring you a post-flip podcast.
Yeah. And it's like we just finished exhibition games, and you always hope for no injuries, just some good oh, there's my air conditioning. Nice.
Hey, there we go.
Because it's like 80 degrees in my room right now. And so how are your exhibition games? How'd they go?
So not bad. I lot for Fullerton, we lost our freshman small forward, power forward, tweener guy of Andre Saxton for after the first game, which is fine. We'll get him some time, eventually. But I think we won all three games playing all the young guys, which is cool. Now we're going to get into the meat of it with the Division II challenge. So excited for that. Yeah. I think I play Cough Daddy in like 2 days. So I'm really excited to play for the first time.
Nice.
And then with UCA, my starting power forward got hurt again, who was hurt for like the last 8 games in the tournament last year. So he's just chronically injured at this point, but everything else is going okay.
Okay, man. Yeah. I had my own injury issues. We had number one recruit, Brian Hoffmeister made his debut, and then he got hurt. Yep. He got hurt in the second game though, and so he missed the third exhibition game. Luckily it was just for that one game, so he's back for the regular season debut. But unfortunately, my starting point guard is now out for this game.
That's brutal.
Yeah. But I'm not playing a strong opponent. So I think it'll be okay. I can kind of, shift around my lineup and be comfortable with it. I have a big matchup with West Virginia in the second game, though. And we play Huntington. We play number 1 Huntington in day 10, game 10.
I think you mean number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 Huntington, because there is a difference between those teams.
Yeah, that team is really good. We're going to look at them a little bit today. But so the flip just happened. We were talking a little earlier. This is your third or fourth flip. We couldn't kind of like figure out the exact number. It's my like 7th, I think. So I'm a grizzled veteran now. No, I mean, but I've kind of I've learned some things.
You've been around the block. Yeah.
So today I wanted to focus on, it's a little bit about like looking at flip things, but also tips for new players, but also veterans. So like what do you, as a new-ish president, look for at the flip with your teams?
So jokingly, big men every time. There's never enough of them out west. But no, really, I think the thing that's the most exciting about the flip to me, right, is that final dev. I love seeing the physical growth of the players, especially some of those guys you might have that were freshmen that you hope to get a little heavier, a little taller. Some of those surprise growths are always nice. The new conference I'm going to be in when I inevitably demote, which has happened 3 times in a row. So hopefully we can stave that off. But I think the biggest thing, though, that we talk about together, at least, is new prospect generation, right? Some of these guys coming in, whether it's freshmen, internationals, any of that stuff, that's always a hot ticket in our Discord where we're just shooting stuff back and forth. Like, have you seen this power forward? Have you seen this point guard? All this stuff.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
And it's like Christmas, right? Like the flip is just, it's the beauty of the unknown where everything is always better, and the grass is always greener. And so you're just hoping there's going to be 1,000 Brian Hoffmeisters for you. And then there's never Brian Hoffmeisters, but it's still really fun to go out and scout all those players and find those hidden gems.
Yeah, definitely. We throughout the season of every season we've played together, we're constantly telling each other like, oh, this is what I'm going to look for at the flip. And so then when we look at these new players, even old players, who are there still, it's like we can link what we know the other person is looking for because we've talked about it so much. And like both you and I are maniacs, and we will look at every single person for hours on that flip day, flip night. And that was a fun one this time, because I remember like this one, like I think I noticed that new prospects had generated before a lot of people.
Yeah, you noticed like at least 30 minutes before it started going off in the Discord, because you were like, there's some new guys, like just a heads up. And I'm looking at some of these guys and I'm like, oh, we got to jump on this guy or this guy, this guy. And then somebody in the Discord was like, oh, new prospects. And you're like, not that I've been scouting them for the last, 15 minutes. But and it gives you an advantage. It's one of those things where the flip took a little longer this time. But once it started kicking in, we were all kind of, scurrying away at it and try to find whatever gyms we can.
Yeah. I'm not the type of person to like spend early in the flip, You're
the opposite. That is probably the most opposite Hardwood thing we do. And Rob is an even further example, I think, but you like to scout it out. You don't want to get in the battles, things like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still have a bunch of points with my team that I need to use, but I'm waiting for like tonight's dev to like kind of see, and like the dev isn't really it's not gonna change a lot, but it changes a little bit. Gives you more information about the players, and you see who improves. And so yeah, like usually I'll wait a bit. I mean, I've spent some points to move up on some guys, or
right.
But for the most part, yeah, I wait as long as possible to kind of like let other people show their cards, because then I know that they don't have the points to combat what my plan is, and like I'm not the type of person to get into battles anyways.
True. You're risk averse, but it works for you in your recruiting.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I think it really worked when I was like a lower level team, because I was scared that a higher division team would come in on a prospect
because they will
spent early on. Yeah, because they will, as many lower division teams know.
Yeah. Very true.
Now that I'm in LL2, it's like I don't have to have that fear, I guess, but it's still kind of just how I am. So I don't know. I think I'm more willing to jump into battles now too. So there's definitely like some type of mindset change going on for me, at least, with these prospects.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of finding that balance, right? Because you don't want to be too gung-ho with it, and miss out on a bunch of guys because you as a LL6 team or whatever went on a bunch of good prospects that immediately picked up competition. But at the same time, it's kind of like the Hoffmeister thing, right? Like that was a recruitment that we talked about it many times, where you were out on it 20 times, right? You were done. And then as you started progressing up and you kept promoting, it was one of those like, you know what, maybe I can throw my hat in the ring here, because my team holds a lot heavier of a weight than we did before. And I think it's really important to find that balance, because if you're going to go for let's say the top rated player that's a new generation out of California, right? Maybe a 4-star guard, something like that. You probably can't go after multiple 4-stars that are going to generate, or multiple high level 3 big men, things like that. So you need to find those gyms or find those other guys that you might've been on earlier. And like you said, it's all a big game of poker. I think that's the best way to describe it. And sometimes you show your cards and you get beat. Like I had that happen with UCA. I think we went on 2 big men up to medium who were very good prospects, maybe a little out of our reach, but pulled up and picked up LL, I think 1 and 2 teams, Lipscomb and Tennessee, pretty quickly. And it's like, I took the risk, but if I would have waited a little longer, I would have all those points, and they wouldn't, they would have still spent on those guys. So I like the way you do it a little more, but it's just hard not to spend those points. They burn a hole in my pocket. We're being honest.
Yeah, definitely. And I understand, like, in a region like the South, it's different than California. It's just not as deep. Although this year it was exceptionally talented.
Way better than the West this year. Yeah, like the West is struggling right now.
Yeah, but I understand, like, that lack of depth usually it leads to a more urgent feeling to spend those points, to be the first team, to show your interest, the strength in that prospect. So, like, it definitely, it's different per region. I think so I think that's one thing, like, I want to try to harp with everyone, like, we're only in California in the South, and I have experience in the Northeast with New Rochelle, who I dropped, and I had Michigan Tech in the Midwest, or I think. So, like, I've gotten a sense of a lot of the regions, but, like, I don't know much about the Southwest.
Or recruiting Pennsylvania, that's the one where it's like, I feel like there's 1,000 teams. I know you had it with the Northeast a little bit, but, like, that's the one I always see people talking about. Like, there's just so many good teams there and not enough good prospects.
Right. Yeah. And like, I think the Southern Mississippi president, he's looked at, like, every state, I believe, maybe region, and, like, looked at the compared the quality of the team based on, like, prestige and league level, and compared that to the number of high quality prospects, like 3 stars and above, in that region or state, and, like, run, like, numbers on what's the most talent rich state comparatively to the competition. And so, like, like, I think he said Illinois is, like, the actually best state to try to get out of state talent, and, like, Pennsylvania is the worst because it's so many competitive teams. So I thought that was interesting.
That was a surprise because that's very in-depth analysis for this game, which at the same time, that's how you keep climbing and how you find those guys. But when he said that, it was funny because a couple guys in the Discord were like, don't let them figure it out, because they've been robbing guys from Illinois for a while. And I think that's a huge advantage that you can work in. I know we've both at different points, I think, or I have at least ventured into the mountain regions a little bit and kind of seen, like, okay, there's not a ton of Division I teams here. Maybe I can steal a guy, and then you risk, maybe a top team comes in on them, but you can find those gyms in some of those under recruited regions. And I think that's a huge part to Hardwood success, because not everybody builds their team on 4 and 5 stars, right? Like, it's very rare to see that. And I mean, like Steve said, the player of the game in the national championship was a 2-star recruit. So you got to find those guys anywhere you can. Luckily out West, we usually have quite a bit of them, but at the same time, there's a lot of schools out there. So sometimes you got to, dip into different regions.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Southern Mississippi, that president, they just did a conference specific breakdown of their conference 4.8. So go check that out on their video. I'll try to link it because it's probably much more in depth than what we're going to do for any conference. So I think that's cool to check out. See how someone else breaks down their conference. And I think that'll be really interesting to see. I haven't watched it yet, so I can't really say too much. But I think it's always cool to, like, get that inside look at a conference really in depth like that. So go check that out.
Yeah, and more people, if you want to cover your conference and you feel like we're not doing an adequate job, do a deep dive, man. Like, film something, put it up on YouTube, send it to us, send it to him. Maybe we can get it up on the channel. But that's so helpful for the community, because we can't put all of those videos out, but there are people who are willing to do it and might just not want to have their own channel, or be fully involved in it. But I think that can really help everybody, and it's more Hardwood content, which we're all here for. So
yeah, definitely. The other thing I wanted to highlight though was Cough Daddy's, like, daily tournament, or, like, his bracket of historical D1 teams that made the tournament but never won. So I think it's called the best of the rest tournament. So we're going through one matchup every day, voting on it in the message. It's in the forums. I'll link that for sure. Yeah, I think that's really cool. I haven't voted in like every matchup. I try to, at least when I have like a strong feeling.
Right.
There's some that have been really close, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And
yeah,
yeah, it's a tough. I don't. Number one, I don't have like the history of the knowledge of all of these teams to like know like you read the comments, the posts, and they're like, oh, I remember facing this team. It was a nightmare to face. And I'm like, I love that, but I don't have that. And I also haven't like looked super in depth at every matchup or roster. So it's like, it's tough to give my like fully knowledgeable input, I guess. But I know some people do that. And so it's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's always good to read those write-ups. And at the same time, like I'm kind of where you are, where if I'm not giving a good in-depth analysis, I almost feel like bad for voting sometimes, which I know is not the right thing. Cough Daddy wants you to vote, but I'm almost like, I don't want to vote for the wrong team just because I don't know a lot about these teams. But today I voted for, I think, or maybe I voted yesterday for Huntington for the first time when I did one. So I'm going to try to be more involved in those because that's just great content that's being provided by Cough Daddy.
Yeah, I think it's because it is Hardwood's like 20th anniversary in game. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I think awesome. What did we just hit? We just hit 2020, right? So like the pandemic is ongoing, and well, pandemic's ongoing in real life, but it's really underway in the game right now, I think. So it's kind of wild to see that we're about to hit the future here soon. So it's going to be kind of cool.
That's right. Well, we still got like a season or so.
Yeah.
So we got like 2 months before we really pass. But yeah, no, it's coming up. That's crazy. Who knows what the future will look like? I mean, it'll be a Brian Hoffmeister led future for me, at least.
Brian Hoffmeister, first overall pick by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Actually, I think in the game, Seattle Supersonics, so that'll be who it is. But we'll see that eventually. His jersey in the rafters. You'll probably put up another video with some quality animation again.
Yeah.
Player of the year. So no, it's exciting. I'll say the one thing about Hardwood that whenever I got involved in it, I think everything felt so vast and kind of like I just don't understand what's going on. But now that I've started to grasp it a little more, it goes by so quick sometimes that it kind of goes before your eyes. Because I went and looked. You linked a player actually that you offered that he was a junior now, I think, and he's a redshirt sophomore. And I was like, I remember you recruiting that guy like literally like 2 days ago. Like, how is this guy already? And so I just felt very like, it's just going, man. Like these seasons are going by, and those players that you recruit that you get connected to, they're just gone soon. So not to be depressing, but like it's it's something I've started to realize more. I'm like, oh man, I should really do more PRs and pay more attention to my team and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's actually really interesting. Like what you just said with, well, two things. It's really interesting how quickly like seasons go by. Like, yeah, I look back at 2015. I'm like, oh, I remember that team. That was such like a lovely team that I really remember because I hated them. So like my team specifically, it just was like not a good fit. It was a big struggle. That was probably my worst season at Dominican. But
I'm gonna go with
I finished 7th in a D2 conference.
Oh man, 7th. So bad.
But then game planning every single day, like you have one game a day, it feels like it's slow within a season. But then you look back and it's just like, oh man, yeah, time flies. Will Clevenger, where did you go, buddy? Like
is he playing in the NBA right now, or is he in Europe?
I think he's still in the NBA. I haven't looked at his stats for this season, but no, he went. He definitely played last season. He's playing 26 minutes a game for now. That's the pro team. I don't know what happened. Like he was on the Raptors, and now he's not anymore.
Oh yeah, I saw that they. I think when they did the last update or something, that some of the pro team name changed or pro team names changed. So I think the Raptors were one that was cited as this used to be the Raptors, now it's pro or something like that. So. Maybe he still is on the Raptors. I don't know, but that was something somebody brought up on the forums.
Yeah, I guess he was traded. Oh no, if I click on the actual Raptors, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm confused, but He's still getting stats
Somebody
as of
explain
time.
it to us in the comments.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to that you said that kind of struck me was like when you first joined the game, the learning curve. Like I think that's really important actually. I'd like to dig deeper into that, probably another video, I guess.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, like for me, it was also super big. Like I remember, you know, I was the first of our group to join, and like I spent till like 3 a.m. the first night, like like looking at prospects and being like, oh man, I love this guy. And then I like spent on a guy in Utah, didn't get him. Spent on a guy in Indiana, didn't get him. Uh spent on a guy in Missouri, didn't get him, you know, but it was like 1 to 2 contacts each, and it was just like that's not going to do anything, you know.
No, I think that's the hard thing you learn in this game. Not everybody learns it. Some people still do it, or some people never do it. But
Yeah.
I think reaching for difficult prospects, especially ones out of state, like I'm like, this makes sense to me. And, you know, it's not that big of a deal to stay in Wyoming or something. And say, no, actually, it's a big deal to stay in region. Like this is,
Yeah.
you know, an important part of recruiting. So, but it's kind of fun because you see a lot of teams like really dip out of their region, or some teams pretty much stay in there. Some teams recruit like primarily international players, which is super cool. Shout out to Divock, right? Or Divock.
Divac, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, either way. But yeah, that's you always see these different teams in Hardwood, and it's everybody's got their own little identity they develop into. And I think in that learning curve video that we could do in the future, that's kind of what you discover, right? You discover how you want to run your team, and unfortunately, some people don't discover it, and they end up leaving after a little bit, or maybe they're a 1-day login because they are like, "What the hell is this game?"
Yeah.
It takes many more than 1 day to get you know into Hardwood and really understand it.
Yeah. And actually, like I know what a bunch of stuff we could talk about, but like with that specifically with the learning curve, but like I know I want to talk about how to evaluate players, like how all the different steps that I went through. And you know, I still don't think I'm at the like highest point, but you know, I think there's definitely been stages. So I think that'll be an interesting topic.
Yep.
Anyways, back to our original topic of like what we look for at the flip. um you know, I look for, you know, I really just go down the order of events, you know, for each thing. So it's like coaches are first.
Yes. That's a huge one we didn't mention. Yeah, coaches
Yeah.
are huge.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I think a lot of people have different theories on how much impact coaches have, but the thing is like it can't be bad to have a good coach.
True. True. I
Yeah.
mean, like I don't see a downfall in having a coach that has really high stats in most columns. So
Yeah. And, you know, I don't think the like feeding frenzy that happens,
oh,
like
it is the
what it,
biggest one. Like we think recruits are a big one. No, like coaches, dudes will you will click into a coach and be like, do I want this guy? And you hit it and it's already gone. Like it is
yeah.
insane how fast those guys go. I swear I know some people have like a spreadsheet of like these 5 coaches are bots. Maybe they'll get fired. I'm going to pull them up and do all that. And God bless you, because I'm way too slow and I'm not going to be good enough to do that. But I'll try to clean up the scraps.
Yeah. I haven't done that. I did that like my first season. I was like, but this was back when there weren't assistants, so it was a lot less coaches to look through. And
That's so
and they had
weird.
like
Yeah.
their comments showed too, so it was like easier to know who was going to be good. You
Yeah.
know, now the assistants show none, and so you're like you have no idea. So yeah, but some people definitely, you know, I know, yeah, NAF,
Yep.
Holocron, Plockman, I think they all like have like the names ready to go and stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Like I know Naf was hinting at it that I think he had to go to a birthday party for
yeah,
one of his kids or something, and he was like, I hope one of my 3 guys doesn't get fired." And then he ended up being able to pick up somebody anyway. But it's always funny to see like these guys have people on the block, like, and I'm just like scrambling to find somebody who's not a total scrub. But you know, you're right. It would be interesting to know like how much coaches have an impact, but I think that's part of the imperfect formula that Hardwood can be sometimes for us, where you got to kind of figure it out and put your confidence in certain aspects of it.
yeah. So I mean, I kind of just spent like a little bit of time looking for a coach, and I was telling you like I hired a guy, and I was like, oh crap, he's not. what I wanted. Like he was good. He was a good coach.
Yeah.
And I was like, shoot, I wish I got someone like a little different. So then like luckily I know the timing of Hardwood. So it's like I hired him at like 11:45 my time. And the clock changes at midnight, the day changes, and you can hire one assistant a day. So I was like, all I have to do is wait like 15 minutes and then I can hire a new coach.
Yep. I remember you being like, yeah, I've already done this twice. And like, it's very funny because I did the same thing last year where I saw excellent recruiting and I was like, this is sick. And then I realized like, oh, I hired a guy with like 3/8 like on the actual game day column. And I was like, okay, maybe, and now he doesn't have a job anymore. So, that's what you have to kind of look for and balance out, because some people prioritize. I mean, you'll see 20s on the recruiting staff and not a lot of good other stats, or you'll see a lot of people with motivation, things like that. And I don't think there's a proven way. I think we all kind of just guess and take which stats we like. So,
yeah, I know. We talk about Naf a lot because he's very like open with his process, and so we like talking about that. And I know his coaching staff, the way he structures it, it's like he tries to have each coach like cover, all the weaknesses. So overall, it's very well rounded.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like I'm like everybody should be well rounded, but that probably means like they're not as strong in any one thing,
Yeah, and I think like I'm really privy to like I really love the recruiting stuff, like because I like going for some of the bigger prospects. But even then, like I wonder how much that matters that my assistant is a 16 recruiting compared to the other guy's assistant who's a 12 or things like that. But having those bigger numbers always just feels kind of nice if you can find them. So
true.
Well-rounded is probably the smart way, because if any of them do affect it, then you would hit it, by that logic. But if you're really high in recruiting, but dev's actually the most important one, and you're not hitting that, then you're kind of getting screwed. So I think well-rounded is probably a smart way to do
it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do kind of wish some of my guys were stronger in certain areas, but yeah, I also sometimes I look at like that low column like you're gonna get canned. But I think a lot of like what we do is like a lot of the prep, like coming into the season, I know what assistant coach I wanted to replace.
Yes.
I kind of had an idea of what I wanted based on that too. So like I could filter and sort by those things. So that speeds up the process. I wasn't just scrolling through the entire list. I just clicked the column that I wanted to sort by, and it, so I think, that was a big part of it for like the speed that I could hire the coach that I wanted. Because this year I was like, I knew I wanted to replace someone. So I was willing to be gung-ho about it, like right on, do it as quickly as possible. Now I'm not always, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's whether it's that or going in with, I know my recruiting weakness, whatever I need to grab. The flip does involve a lot of prep, which is why we get so excited for it, just because we've all been thinking about the next step and we're waiting for that game pause to stop. But if you're a newer president watching this and you don't really focus on a lot of that stuff, it is a good way to potentially make your team better just by a little bit of pre-thought before you just immediately hop into the next season and start snagging prospects. Kind of chart it out, in your brain, see what you think with your scholarship numbers, see what you think on if one coach is truly a weakness or if you just want to browse. Sometimes it's nice to browse coaches. Maybe you find one that just is better and you can go ahead and do that. But then also sometimes you hire a guy because he has excellent recruiting and he's just bad everywhere else, so that's when you do the Andrew and you wait 15 minutes and fire him. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, having like, when you don't have the need to hire a new guy and you can just, browse and take your time. Like sometimes you can find an even better coach. Like that's a gem because he didn't meet anyone else's, filters, or wasn't high enough, then that's when you really get lucky, but you have an immense amount of success. Yeah. Let's see. I also okay, so like you and I are definitely different in like where we are in our teams. Like for me, I have recruited out into the future like a few seasons. So like I will always, like at the flip, I always look at like if any of my players, obviously like changed interests and whatnot, right? But like if they gained transition. That's a big thing I'm looking at. And not just like players I'm already on, like players I'm on my watch list, because honestly, I'll probably knock them off if the game comes.
True.
So like for you, you haven't a future with so like what are you recruiting wise other than like newly generated prospects?
Okay, so where I'm at with recruiting, I think I've, like I said, I've demoted a few years, but now we demoted out of LL4 into LL5. So it is a change. There's been some players that I had low interest on that don't have interest at all. Some players that are highly recruited who didn't change, and some that changed pretty big. So I think for me, this flip at least, I came in saying, okay, I want to lock up this guard that I'm on, and I want to grab a big. And then that kind of switched to, okay, I really want to make sure I get the players that I've put points into already. So I'm going to just dump points into those guys every day. Hopefully I can snag somebody late, but if not, carrying over one extra scholarship to the next year isn't the end of the world. Especially because I am hoping to promote back up this next year, which would give me a little boost in recruiting. So it varies year by year. I kind of expected that to happen whenever, we hit the last few weeks of the season and I readied myself for it. But I do the same thing with you. I've got my board. I check that probably every day or maybe every other day to see if any new lows or one comp has appeared on there. And I'm just scouring it, right? And I'm just messaging you on Discord about how pissed off I am that teams are coming in on all my players and all that. But
same, I do the same.
Yeah, and it's so funny, but I think that's one of the things that I'm probably most paranoid about in this game, is that I'm just like, man, I found this guy. Somebody's going to come in on him. And sometimes it happens. And other times, when you get that prospect you really want, it makes it all the better. So,
yeah.
And it's almost scary because you want to keep them under wraps a little. Sometimes you find a guy who's really good and you're, really scared that a Division I team is going to come in and grab him. I had that happen last year with UCA, the player that I really liked, and thankfully we landed him. Other times Arkansas comes in and just steals them from you. So it happens,
Right. Well, shouldn't happen this year. You're both in D2 and they haven't logged in a few days.
Fingers crossed. If you know the Arkansas guy, just tell him never to play the game again, or tell him to play in like 30 days. I would really appreciate it. I'll Venmo you like $5 if that happens.
Oh, okay.
One person. No, not everybody else.
And another thing I look at though is when the schedule generates. Yes. And there's two things, I guess. When the depth chart generates, or you're able to actually move your players. There's two things I do. I set my default depth chart, but then I really want to set my exhibition depth charts. So that's where the schedule comes in, part of it. So yeah, because they're different for me. I want to play my red shirts or my young guys as much as possible within reason. I'm not one of those people who plays them 40 minutes until the last game, kind of.
Right.
But yeah, I want to make sure those guys are getting those minutes, getting that playing time. Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing I'll focus on. And then lately, because my team is so competitive, my teams were so competitive, I had multiple, now I don't. Because they were so competitive, I couldn't play I'm sorry, I'm using my hands so much.
Okay.
I had, now I'm lost. Could not play my red in conference games a lot because I didn't have worse players play, so I had to figure out which non-con games they could play in, really plan that out.
Yep.
So that's another thing I'm looking at. I'm looking at the quality of opponent, and I'm doing that not immediately, but within the first few days. I've kind of already figured it out by this point for my team. And so yeah, I try to plan it out a little bit. It's probably not going to be all 5 games in non-con, right? But I want to pick and choose a little bit, just to make sure again they get that playing time and not scrambling at the end to get them their 5th game. that happens to be like a really important conference game for promotion or avoiding demotion or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I
So
think
yeah,
that's something
that's what I'm doing.
that as I, with UCA specifically, as I've gotten a little better when we won last year in our conference, I didn't plan that as well because we had been like just, getting beaten or games were like wish wash, whatever. It wasn't going that much in my favor. But now that I was winning, I was like, shoot, I think last year I had a freshman get 4 games, and it's like I could have got that one extra game in a non-con, or I could have squeezed him somewhere. But then again, with Fullerton, I had it happen where I think I had to burn one of my freshman guys' games like almost 2/3 through the conference season just because we had so many injuries and didn't have a lot of depth. So I think it really depends on your situation, right? When you're at a school like Dominican where you have that depth really thought out, you can really take time and say, this opponent's weak in this place, I'm going to play this guy or this guy, this guy.
True.
And then in some situations, you're like, we're going to be bad, so I can play these guys whatever 5 games, and it just doesn't matter. It's probably going to lose.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely true. It definitely depends on your situation. Like, if you don't have the depth, yeah, you need to save that redshirt guy for when an injury happens.
Yep.
Or if you're not a good team, you're going to lose anyways.
And whenever.
Yeah. I talked about this before when I was in like LL2, not LL2, I mean D2.
LO5. Yeah.
LO5, yeah. I reversed it. I would play my redshirt guys against the best teams because I knew I was going to lose. And then I, because I wanted to avoid demotion, so I was playing my best guys in those games that against, not the best teams. So yeah, yeah, it depends on your situation, definitely. But yeah, there's different ways you can go about it for sure.
I think that's actually a really smart way to do it. Like if you're just playing the best team in the league and you're mid-table and you're like, look, we're playing on the road, I'm just going to give this guy some minutes because I want to get that extra game in there. I think that's really smart. And I agree with you. One of the first things I love to do at the start of the flip is get in on my depth chart and just set it. I set my depth chart every time the way I want to set it for the full season. I look at it and I'm like, these are my guys. I'm so excited. And then I'm like, okay, who are we playing during the invitation? So I do kind of the same thing. And that's always fun too, because you're like, how many minutes am I going to give this guy? I don't run him into the ground. Just because I'm worried about a fatigue injury or something after game 2. I'd rather be able to play them all 3. But it's also just really fun seeing those new guys, put up stats, right? Like, that's so exciting. I had a guy who he's a redshirt freshman, but he's going to play a lot for me this year. And he dropped 22, I think, in our second game on a really good shooting percentage. And I was just so excited. Like I told my wife, and she was just like, okay, like, but I was like, no, he's look at this true shooting. But no, it was really exciting. So I think that's one of the hidden gems in it. And, it just makes the flip so fun, right? That's why it's maybe, besides the tournament, maybe the best time of year for Hardwood.
I really love this time, because you get to see those new players. I mean, the first thing I looked for was, what did Brian Hoffmeister do in his first game?
Yep. How tall is he? That's the best. We go like, is he going to get 6'10"? Is he going to get 6'10"? Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. I looked at his height. Yeah, for sure. I looked for any dev. He did not develop. He only improved by 8 last season. So
yeah, I think Hoff's going to get high enough. So I think you're fine. All right, let's dev elsewhere. So
true. Well, I don't know. I want the Ralph Banning type of,
That's true. I was just looking at the top players, and man, that is like, you see some of those guys, and it's like, I'm not going to get into those battles, but good gosh, they just are monster.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, could we see a plus 40 sometime soon? I think the highest I've seen is like plus 37, I think. So, and now we have higher pops. Yeah, Ollie Man might get there. Cool. Yeah, is there anything else you look for at the flip? I'm trying to think.
I think we've covered it pretty well. The last thing would be just with the schedule, like if you scheduled up, if you scheduled random, whatever, just kind of see some of those fun matchups that you're playing that aren't on your rivalries. That's always kind of cool. But I think if you want, we can probably talk about those couple top teams in the RPI and then wrap it up if that sounds good to you.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I was at least going to talk about one team that
we have to talk about Huntington.
Yeah, I mean, so this is sort of by TPI, as we like to do. I mean, this is a 12 TPI difference. That's ridiculous in D1, which it's going to be it. I mean, look at this team. O'Donnell, 4 guys over 170, 6 over 160. They have a 7-1 center down here who's got 18 strength. My God. I mean, it's a really talented team. Are there weaknesses? Of course, every team has weaknesses. I play this team in game 10. I'm not going to say their weaknesses because I want to keep those to myself.
Let's see if you can exploit them, and then you can tell everybody. We'll see.
Yeah. But this is the team in the Legends. I'm very scared. I mean, I don't think we're gonna win, but it's gonna be fun. But I mean, this is just it's rare we've seen talent like this, especially talent that's so much higher than the next team. I mean, we saw Azusa Pacific a few years ago. Yes. They had a team that was much better than the second and third place team, I think, or maybe Florida State was close. And they dominated that season, though.
Oh yeah.
And so I think people kind of are wondering if Huntington's going to do the same thing.
I don't think we've discussed it, right? We haven't seen an undefeated team in Hardwood. I don't think I'm not going to get like Stephen A or Skip Bayless right now and be like undefeated's anything else is a failure. No, but I think that's going to happen. Right? Yeah, no hot takes, but I do think Huntington going into the season is definitely the deserved number 1 team in the country. And I think that it wouldn't be surprising to see less than 5 losses on the full season, probably less than that. No jinxing or anything like that, but I'm just excited to see what this team can do. I think this provides a glimpse into an interesting recruiting strategy that I know has been discussed before, of taking multiple guys over a class or maybe over 2 classes. But it's clearly showing that it works, right? I mean, they've got a stacked lineup on some of these guys. And this is their golden generation, right? Like with all those seniors up there, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it with 3 seniors above 170. It's crazy. So
actually, I actually think this is the group of 4 seniors that's are very strong, right? A 5-star, 2 4-stars, and a 3-star.
The next class,
the junior class actually looks better even. At least it's more numerous, and you have a 4 or 5, another 4, and then 2 3s and a 2. So like plus, and then one of them is a center. So is this team at its peak? Maybe even not. I mean, last year they were really good. They promoted to Legends. They're even better this year. They might be even maybe better next year. I mean, so
it's going to be a considerable 2-year one, right? I think that, like you said, this current junior crop that's when they had the number 1 class, right? They finished the number 1 class in the country, or at least by average. I know they did, because I know sometimes people take like 12 recruits and it just skews it. But no, I think we've been talking about this coming for a while for Huntington, and now we're just seeing those fruits pay off, and we're going to see some really impressive games.
Yeah. So here's that. Yep. Here's the senior class. Here's the junior class. Yeah, for sure.
That's crazy. But 2 back-to-back top 5 classes. I mean, keep it up. That's very impressive. So
yeah. And Wilkes was in that 4.8 preview that Southern Mississippi did. Columbia up here is a little surprising, actually. I mean, because they almost demoted last year in our conference.
Shout out Columbia. Yep.
Yeah. And, they're a good program for sure. So it'll be interesting to see how they, perform this year, though. I think, they definitely scary. Baird is back 191. Wow.
Baird's a monster.
Two more at 170. Maury is a good player, I feel like. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this season. NYU, defending national champions.
Expect to see them up there.
Strong again.
Brought back. Yeah.
I mean, I think those are the main storylines, I'd say, out of the top teams here. I mean, Chowan, were they runner up? No, they got knocked out super early, actually. Sorry.
They got knocked out early.
Yeah. Never mind. I mean, good luck to them, of course, too. But yeah, lots of good teams. We don't need to look at number 15 there. It's my team.
We'll have plenty of time to do that as the season rolls on. So
yeah. Number in D2, we'll look at these briefly. I don't think we'll really look at teams that closely, but Jacksonville Ashland kind of looked like a little bit of a step above, but TPI doesn't tell the whole story, of course.
If I'm correct, Jacksonville has recruited a few 5-stars, right? From what I remember.
Yeah,
I never remember if it's Jacksonville or Jacksonville State. I know there's two.
I think both of them, to be honest.
Ooh,
wow,
4 or 5 stars on the roster. That is insane. This is like Vanderbilt Jr. This is crazy.
Yeah. But like they actually spend their scholarships on other players too.
What a foreign strategy, right? To have more than 7 scholarship players. But no, I mean, I think when I took a quick look because I'm in LL5 on both my teams this year, and I looked at them and I was just like, this team is going to be a monster in the tournament if everybody stays healthy.
Mm-hmm. I think wrong button, but oh well. I think the thing to notice, I guess, in D2 is the strength of like individual conferences. Because like 4 of the top 9 are in 13.
Yep.
So unlucky. 3. Yeah, I know one of them isn't going to promote. That's crazy.
Yep.
At least
you're the top 11 in V3.
Yeah, 3 of the top 11 in V3. Those are definitely like the standouts. I'm sure there's a couple more that are like good though. Yeah, V3 with another 2 right here though. 5 in the top 23.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's the story in D2. There's a lot of like strong conferences, and I think Fury did a little bit of analysis on that in the Discord.
Yes, he did a little breakdown of like who are the fortunate conferences, who are the ones that are going to be difficult, and who's kind of middle of the pack.
Right. So yeah, Cal State Fullerton is right here. Hey, let's go.
Weirdly enough, Seton Hall's 18, which I guarantee you all the money in the world that Cal State Fullerton would beat Seton Hall this year because I know their teams. But I think we're second in LO5, so it's not, or V.5, so it's not bad.
It is LO5 though.
LO5 V.5, yeah, exactly, or LO5.5. Yeah, that's it. All works.
Yeah. Okay, and then let's go to D3 because I think there's one team to highlight. I think specifically here, Alabama A&M is like, it's not a huge step, but I think it's a big step to be above Texas, Dallas, and Stevenson. So yeah, I mean, A&M, I think they have a pretty experienced president. So that's always a dangerous combo. I think talent with experience.
Yeah, I think that D3 or LL3 is going to be, LL6, whatever, D3. It's been a long day. Alabama A&M is going to cause havoc. They're probably going to do really well in their conference. But quick shout out to Stevenson with the 6 prestige. That's just kind of cool. I know we've talked about that before. Single digit prestige teams are very enticing to take over as like another team or a new option, but it's pretty cool. Really active player, it looks like. So
it looks like a new president.
That's right.
Taking over for Gunman. Remember that guy?
Yeah, I do remember Gunman. I'm very happy that he's gone.
Yeah. So good to see an active president taking over Stevenson and hopefully bringing them some success.
One that doesn't spam the Discord with bad memes. Yep.
Yeah, seriously. I think Texas Dallas has like a new president who is actually like an old president.
So he might have gotten switched over.
Yeah, I looked at the history. They had like a 5-season gap here.
Okay, yeah.
Is this someone we know? I feel like it's someone we know in the Discord, but can't put my finger on it.
I'm trying to think if I've seen Texas Dallas in there. I know we've seen UAB before, but I think that was when somebody else had them. So I'm trying to.
Yeah.
If you're in the Discord, shout us out and we'll get you in the next pod one night. So
I thought it might be the Fontbonne president, but I'm not sure right now.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's see. Yeah, I think those were the 3 teams. I mean, all the teams above 140, I think those are the usually the ones to look at.
Yep.
Again, TPI, not everything. We didn't look at like the actual rosters, so who knows like how they're using that SI and in terms of size and where those points are. But yeah, no, I think we're gonna have some interesting storylines this season. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that every season's exciting, but I do think the Huntington stuff, some of these teams in LL6, I think it's going to be really entertaining, and hopefully we have a great season. And congratulations everybody making through the flip. I think that's always such an exciting time. It's definitely my favorite time because we're never in the tournament, but I think it's just such a fun time for Hardwood, and it's a great time to make a video too.
Yeah, well, I think both your teams have good shots at the tournament, right? In D2, right?
I hope so this year. If we don't promote with Fullerton, I'm just going to lose my mind. So I think we'll see what happens. But it's different than LL6, which was hard with UCA because it almost felt like if we didn't win the conference tournament, we just weren't going to be in because there's so many teams. Yeah. So thankfully, with there being less conferences as we move up to LL5, hopefully we can make it. I'd be surprised if we didn't with Fullerton, but you never know what could happen. So.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have tournament hopes. I have promotion hopes.
You have higher than tournament hopes for Dominican. You have national championship hopes for
Dominican. This year, I think I definitely have promotion hopes. I don't know if my tournament hopes are as big as they were last season. I mean, I hope I have more tournament success than last season. Yeah. But I mean, I think my team is worse than last season. Not by a lot, but by a little bit. And so, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. It really kind of does depend on Hoff, actually.
Sure.
How much he really improves, and that could be a lot because he's my first.
I think he's going to improve very well, and I'm really excited to see it happen. I also think that as we talk about Dominican a little bit, it's going to be funny when you make it to Legends. Hopefully you do eventually. Hopefully it's this year, because we already get enough of people sharing how to beat Dominican strategies sometimes in the Discord. And so now there's just going to be a ton of people in the Discord to play you. And it's going to be pretty fun. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, if anyone wants to know how to beat my team, I mean, I'll tell them what I don't like facing.
There you go.
Actually, I probably won't.
You will not
want to do that.
Yeah, you will not.
Yeah, I don't like facing walk-ons, the player walk-ons.
Yeah, don't like that's it. It's just their kryptonite, right? Every time they go for 100. So.
Yeah, seriously. So I can't record this weekend, everyone. So
we will not have a pod this weekend. Hopefully we can get one sometime next week, if not just the weekend. But we'll probably go ahead and cover maybe some of the conferences. I know that's usually one that people like. But what do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, we'll take some closer looks at conferences in the coming weeks. We'll try to break it down. I think we'll try to break down top teams throughout the landscape and take a look at some conferences I think that we notice are strong. Yeah,
absolutely.
But that'll be in the future at some point. So till next time, everyone. TPI signing off.
Yep. Good luck in the new season, guys.
All right.